Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. The left is going after Christians again after Attorney General Jeff Sessions announced a religious liberty task force to protect the rights of people of faith. But the left is telling us because of this task force, we're headed towards the Handmaid's Tale. The Daily Beast published an article claiming the Religious Liberty Task Force, quote, declares holy war on LGBT people. One commentator on Twitter said, quote, a religious liberty task force, isn't this something the Taliban would do? No. The Taliban stones women to death who've been raped and kills anybody who dares to question the religion of Islam. If you think that's the same thing, please be my guest and go visit the Taliban and then come back and tell me if you still think it's the same. See, here in America, we already have the freedom of religion. The First Amendment in our Constitution guarantees us the right to religious freedom. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The reason we need a religious liberty task force is because of people on the left, people who think their views and their religious decisions are somehow superior to mine. They're trying to force me and Christians like me to violate our religious beliefs to serve theirs. This is not a talking point. We can see this ourselves. The war on Christianity is easy to see. Just look at California. In California, a bill in the state house would make it illegal for priests or ministers or Christian counselors to counsel gay people to live chastely. The same bill could prohibit Catholic school teachers from teaching kids the catechism because of the Catholic teaching on homosexuality. This bill could even make it a crime to sell the Bible if you advertise the Bible's words on homosexual behavior. We need religious liberty because of you people on the left. You would force us to pay for abortions, which is not only against science, but also against our religious beliefs. You would force us and Catholic nuns to buy abortifacient contraceptives. You would force us to participate in your religious ceremonies, even though that violates our religious beliefs. Or else, you threaten us that we will lose our businesses. In Colorado, you targeted a Christian cake baker. In New York, you targeted a Christian couple who own a bed and breakfast. In Arizona, you targeted 2 Christian women who run a calligraphy studio. In Oregon, you targeted a Christian florist. This is why we need a religious liberty task force to protect our constitutional right to religious freedom. You people on the left also don't tell the truth. You accuse Christians of hating gay people. Nothing could be further from the truth. You purposely conflate 2 things that are not the same. You say people who oppose gay marriage hate gay people. How is that the same thing? It's not the same at all. In fact, the majority of Christians I know are extremely welcoming and loving and compassionate to gay and transgender people. Every one of those businesses that declined to participate in a gay wedding, they offered the gay people other goods and services. Not one business turned a gay person away because they were gay. And also, for your information, a lot of LGBT people are Christian too, and respect the right of Christians to live their lives according to their religious beliefs. Yet you on the left, you mock Christians. You ridicule Vice President Mike Pence for being faithful to his wife in a Christian marriage. You try to disqualify a judge from a federal bench because that judge is a practicing Catholic Christian woman. You are the ones discriminating against religious people. You are why we need this task force to protect our constitutional right to live our lives according to our Christian faith. And that's my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you like the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a good night.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and
I am going to be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. Remember that.
For those folks who've lost their job right now because a plant went down to Mexico, that isn't going to make you feel better. And so what we have to do is to make sure that folks are trained for the jobs that are coming in now, because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
We've lowered tax rates, we've rolled back regulations, we've unleashed energy, we're moving to fix a broken world trading system. You can see big numbers on capital spending, business investment, productivity is going to come from that. Higher wages for ordinary working folks throughout the country. This is a good story, it's a solid story. My hunch is it's going to go on for quite a while. It's not just one quarter.
We're having the best economy we've ever had in the history of our country. This is the time to straighten out the worst trade deals ever made by any country on earth ever in history. These deals were made by people, I don't know if they didn't understand or if they didn't care or if they didn't frankly love our country. But we have the worst trade deals ever made in history. But now they're becoming good again. We're here today because America never surrenders. We don't wave the white flag, we only wave the flag that we love. It's called red, white, and blue, and it's beautiful. America is fighting back, and we're winning. We're winning. Your two great congressmen, we talked about winning before. They came up to me and they said, you know, we've never seen anything like what's happening in this country. But nobody has, because it's never happened before what's happening with us right now. But this is a special industry to me. This is steel.
We have people that are incompetent running our country. We don't know what we're doing. Our jobs are going to Mexico. China is dumping steel all over the place. By the way, all over the world, just so you feel better. But China is dumping steel. Your steel mills, I see what's going on. This was the steel capital of the world by far, nothing close, and now I see what they're doing.
We are going to make America great again, but we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to beat China, Japan. We're going to beat Mexico at trade. We're going to beat all of these countries that are taking so much of our money away from us on a daily basis. It's not going to happen anymore. We have the greatest business people right now in the world. They call me all the time. They want to be involved. We have political hacks negotiating our deals for billions and billions and billions of dollars. Not going to happen anymore. We're going to use the finest business people in the world. We are going to do something so good and so fast and so strong, and the world is going to respect us again. Believe me. They were dumping steel all over the country. Dumping it like it was garbage. And they were putting all of you people out of work. Now you're making your own steel, and the United States is taking in billions of dollars, they never say that, and also jobs, and also we're recreating a giant industry. We need steel. We need steel plants. And to see an old, big monster plant like this reopening, that is an honor. When you see the kind of deals made in our country, a lot of those deals are made because the politicians aren't so stupid. They're making them for their benefit. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. We are now going to make it for your benefit. We're going to make the deals for the American people. That's the way it is.
How you doing, Mr. President?
How are you?
My name is Eric Cottenham, and I'm representing the Steelworkers Union, Local 1999, and I'm trying to find out what do we have left for as all of our jobs are leaving Indianapolis, right? And I see here you're doing a lot of things, but in Indianapolis, there's nothing there for us. I mean, what's next? I mean, what can we look forward to in the future as far as jobs, employment, whatever, because all of our jobs is left or in the process of leaving, sir.
Well, the problems have been, part of the problems have had to do with jobs going overseas. And this is one of the reasons why I've been trying to negotiate trade deals to raise wages and environmental standards in other countries so that they're not undercutting us. But frankly, part of it's had to do with automation. You go into an auto factory today that used to have 10,000 people, and now they've got 1,000 people making the same number of cars or more.
You're opening up plants all over the country. I think U.S. Steel is opening up 7 plants and expanding. Idle factories throughout our nation are roaring back to life. Republic Steel is bringing back 1,000 jobs in Ohio. The Georgetown Mill in South Carolina is finally reopening after 4.5 years. Everywhere I go to make a speech, they say, "Sir, it's amazing. The steel mill, which has been closed for 20 years, for 10 years, for 5 years, sir, it's opening." And I always mention it in the speeches. Georgetown is one of those places. Big River Steel is investing billions of dollars to build a brand new plant in Texas and to upgrade another one in Arkansas. Nucor is creating 250, but ultimately going to at least 1,000 jobs in the great state of Florida, another state we won big. Commercial Metals will bring 300 jobs and a new micro mill to Oklahoma. Hundreds of aluminum jobs are coming back to Kentucky and to Missouri, hundreds and hundreds. Across our land, we are witnessing an incredible resurgence of American prosperity, not just in steel, not just in aluminum. We've added 3.7 million new jobs since the election, that beautiful, beautiful election. That was your election, including more than 370,000 manufacturing jobs alone. Remember they said, oh, manufacturing is obsolete.
Some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back.
I said, let's figure this. It's obsolete. How is it obsolete? How do you make things if you don't manufacture?
These are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
They said they're obsolete. So we're going to soon be up to 500,000 jobs in a very short period of time. You've heard me say this. I'm very proud of this. African American unemployment has reached its lowest level in history.
Nice.
Hispanic unemployment has reached its lowest level in history.
Nice.
Asian unemployment has reached its lowest level in history.
That's pretty rare.
And I'm sorry, women, to disappoint you. This is tough. But I did win that women's vote, didn't I? Remember they said, why would women vote for Trump? Well, I don't know, but I got more than she did. That's pretty good. Listen to this. I'm sorry. I'm so embarrassed to say this because Hispanic, African American, Asian, best numbers in history. Women, unemployment only reached a 65-year low. I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize. I want to apologize to all the women in the audience.
We are running into a real big problem for them. If they try to drag this thing much into September, you've got a very clear violation of the Justice Department policy not to interfere with elections. Comey was just excoriated by Horowitz. It'll just be another list of their irregularities, their unethical performance, their unwillingness to follow sensible rules. They could have done this. We could have concluded this interview thing 2 months ago and decided yes or no on it. And their report could be done by now. It looks like they're slowing down. You know, they're running out the clock.
The media would look at the 2005 tax case that has nothing to do with Russia, nothing to do with the campaign, nothing to do with the president. Manafort tax case from 2005 is the trial of the century. Okay, that case, well, that's really how they're portraying it. But more seriously, when we talk about Strzok and Comey and McCabe and Page and all these other people in the FBI and the DOJ at the highest levels, do you see crimes?
Oh, absolutely. I just told you one. the perjury on the affidavit. I was telling you about Hillary crimes a year before Comey outlined them all. I'm pretty good at picking out crimes.
How did she get off scot-free in all this?
She got off because it was a fixed investigation, a totally phony fixed investigation.
Can she still be indicted?
Run by Peter Strzok, who then turns around. The dossier is obtained on the day that they dropped the case against Trump, against Hillary. So that case gets dropped, and they have to even up the score
the next day
and go after Trump the next day. Now the reality is, I'm going to tell you, and we don't have the time to go into it. We can do it later. I'm going to tell you who orchestrated. There was a quarterback for all this. It isn't just Strzok. He's a bit of a puppet. Then there's Mueller. He's a puppet. People working for him are, some of them are really.
I have a funny feel you're about to drop a bomb on me. Go ahead.
The guy running it is Brennan, and he should be in front of a grand jury.
Is Brennan? Former CIA director.
Brennan took an affidavit, a dossier, that if unless he's the biggest idiot intelligence agent that ever existed, although he never really did much intelligence work, it's false. You can look at it and laugh at it. He peddled it to Harry Reid.
The media.
That led to the request for the investigation. So he takes a false affidavit, a false dossier. He gets the senators involved, and a couple of Republican senators, and they demand an investigation. Totally phony investigation. Now, why can't we get an investigation when there are clear facts showing possible violations of the law? Why can't we? Even in the order appointing Mueller, which is completely illegitimate, they don't point out any crime. You have to point out a crime under the independent counsel regulations. They don't point it out. We have lots of crimes, and we can't get Sessions to move and appoint an independent counsel. He's recused from it. He's recused from everything. And Rosenstein is too much involved in it, and they're possible witnesses.
By the way, Rosenstein signed the last FISA warrant.
Well, that's why he's a possible witness, and possible anything else.
Mr. Mayor, great to see you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Independent counsel.
And look, the simple point is all this comes down to this. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We have not reached greatness. We will reach greatness when every American is fully engaged. We will reach greatness when discrimination and stereotyping against women, 51% of our population, is gone, and every woman's full potential is realized and unleashed, and every woman is making her full contribution. When that happens, this nation is going to be taken even higher, because we have not yet fully liberated the women in this country. And we will. And New York will lead the way, and watch New York rise. Thank you, and God bless you.
Is President Trump's personal attorney, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Let me start with Mueller. How is this case impacted? Because Strzok is at the heart of all of it. He claims.
Yeah, I mean, he's played a much bigger role in this than a lot of the media wants to admit. I mean, first of all, he was there at the very beginning. He wrote all the initial documents justifying this investigation. He ran it for 11 months. He conducted the critical interview with Flynn, with the very strange situation where Flynn pled guilty to a lie that the FBI said he wasn't guilty of. Go figure that out. He's the one who was carrying the dossier and using the dossier to justify the FISA wires. That has to be all unraveled. There's no doubt that there are 4 false affidavits filed with the FISA court. Fraud. Lying in an affidavit to the FISA court. The guy responsible for those was largely Strzok. He gathered the evidence, non-evidence. The dossier is absurd.
It's a political document bought and paid
totally
for.
ridiculous.
Russian document.
It says provably false things, like Cohen was in Prague. He wasn't in Prague. It says that there were real estate deals with the Russians. There were no real estate deals with the Russians. It has Trump.
The hookers in the bed was my.
Yeah. He was with. I mean, they have evidence he was with hookers in a bed.
Debunked.
Yeah, debunked. Completely debunked. Got the dates all wrong. It's a cut and paste job by a down and out ex spy, English spy who hated Trump. And was paid by Hillary Clinton and the DNC.
But they spread this information, Mr. Mayor, to lie to the American people, too, and lie to the court.
The Justice Department, the Trump Justice Department, is hiding those affidavits on the grounds that the affidavits contain national security information. Well, my goodness, here are the things we need to know about it. Was the fact that Hillary Clinton and the DNC, the people who paid this, was that pointed out to the judge?
Right.
Because if it wasn't, you got a glaring omission. Was it pointed out that Steele, during the course of this, was fired by the FBI? Were his problems in his background exposed to the judge? I mean, when you present this guy, was he presented as a fully reliable informant, or were the questions, you have to do that in an affidavit. I wrote many of these affidavits.
They never told the court in these applications that Hillary paid for it. They purposely withheld that information.
Well, that would have been a non-starter.
But they never verified any of the information in there anyway.
So here's the point. Strzok created a false document. When we say, is there any evidence that his bias led to action that he took against Trump? Yeah. He perjured himself in an affidavit in order to start his insurance policy investigation. They were hoping they could do something with that before the election. But they ran into the same problem Mueller runs into. The president didn't do anything wrong. They couldn't find any evidence. They struck out. On a couple of days before he was inaugurated, they had to proclaim there was no evidence of collusion, which is not a crime anyway.
Is there any update since you were on with us last, and that is that you responded to Mueller in terms of any potential that there'll be a discussion with the president?
No, they think they have all the time in the world, I guess. I don't know. They haven't responded.
Said it should be over by September.
Well, I think that we are running into a real big problem for them. If they try to drag this thing much into September, you've got a very clear violation of the Justice Department policy not to interfere with elections. Comey was just excoriated by Horowitz. It'll just be another list of their irregularities, their unethical performance, their unwillingness to follow sensible rules. They could have done this. We could have concluded this interview thing 2 months ago and decided yes or no on it. And their report could be done by now. It looks like they're slowing down. You know, they're running out the clock.
The media would look at the 2005 tax case that has nothing to do with Russia, nothing to do with the campaign, nothing to do with the president. Manafort tax case from 2005 is the trial of the century. Okay, that case. Well, that's really how they're portraying it. But more seriously, when we talk about Strzok and Comey and McCabe and Page and all these other people in the FBI and the DOJ at the highest levels, do you see crimes?
Oh, absolutely. I just told you one. The perjury on the affidavit. I was telling you about Hillary crimes a year before Comey outlined them all. I'm pretty good at picking out crimes.
How did she get off scot-free in all this?
She got off because it was a fixed investigation, a totally phony fixed investigation.
Can she still be indicted?
Run by Peter Strzok, who then turns around. The dossier is obtained on the day that they drop the case against Trump, against Hillary. So that case gets dropped, and they have to even up the score
the next day
and go after Trump the next day. Now, the reality is, I'm going to tell you, and we don't have the time to go into it. We can do it later. I'm going to tell you who orchestrated. There was a quarterback for all this. It isn't just Strzok. He's a bit of a puppet. Then there's Mueller. He's a puppet. People working for him some of them are really.
I have a funny feel you're about to drop a bomb on me. Go ahead.
The guy running it is Brennan. And he should be in front of a grand jury.
Is Brennan.
Former
CIA director.
Brennan took an affidavit, a dossier, that unless he's the biggest idiot intelligence agent that ever existed, although he never really did much intelligence work, it's false. You can look at it and laugh at it. He peddled it to Harry Reid. That led to the request for the investigation. So he takes a false affidavit, a false dossier. He gets the senators involved, and a couple of Republican senators, and they demand an investigation. Totally phony investigation. Now, why can't we get an investigation when there are clear facts showing possible violations of the law?
Why can't we?
Even in the order appointing Mueller, which is completely illegitimate, they don't point out any crime. You have to point out a crime under the independent counsel regulations. They don't point it out. We have lots of crimes, and we can't get Sessions to move and appoint an independent counsel. He's recused from it. He's recused from everything. And Rosenstein is too much involved in it, and they're possible witnesses.
By the way, Rosenstein signed the last FISA warrant.
Well, that's why he's a possible witness and possible anything else.
Mr. Mayor, great to see you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Independent counsel to investigate the investigators.
This is fascinating. Donald Trump isn't now saying, hey, I'm a Christian just like you. I'm an evangelical just like you. Look, here's my mother's Bible. See, I'm a Christian. He's actually being honest with these guys, like a Isaiah 45 Cyrus. He's saying, man, I am here to protect you. I am here to help you. I believe in you, and I believe what you're saying is good for the country. And you got to know, folks, this is going to be a dangerous time, and a persecution is potentially on the horizon for you Christians. So listen to this. He says the midterms is going to be a referendum on your religion. Republican losses could be extremely costly. Trump made the comments at a Monday night dinner at the White House after the press left the event, and the remarks were recorded mischievously by someone in attendance, according to CNN. It's not a question of like or dislike. It's just a question that they're going to overturn everything we've done, and they're going to do it quickly and violently. See, he knows the rage and the animus and the hatred that is trying to destroy him and his family. He said violently. He said because there is violence. See, he sees Antifa. He sees the lawyers in the Southern District of New York that they want to destroy him financially. He sees the nature of the insidious, destructive, toxic hatred that is in the left wing of America. And he says there's a level of hatred and a level of anger that is just unbelievable. This is Trump, the businessman, coming in and saying it's amazing, surprising to him, right? Now, why did he say that? Trump was imploring the evangelical audience to vote.
Well, there are some obvious upsides to storing classified information on a private server in your basement, but one of the downsides is that foreign adversaries could hack it. Wouldn't be that hard. According to the Daily Caller News Foundation, that happened to Hillary Clinton. They say a Chinese-owned company did it and may have had real-time access to her emails during her tenure as Secretary of State. The FBI is denying that, sort of, but the story is still fluid and confusing. And for some reason, a lot of people don't seem that interested in finding out what actually happened. Tom Fitton is in the business of finding out what happened. He's the president of Judicial Watch, and he joins us tonight. So, Tom, this seems like one of those stories, and I just want to be completely clear as we were last night. I don't know the answer. I don't know what happened, of course. But I do think it's worth finding out. And so I'm a little bit confused by the confusion. Why wouldn't we know conclusively years later what happened to those emails?
Well, there are a few questions. Did this meeting take place, as alleged, between officials at the Office of Director of National Intelligence and Peter Strzok and his colleagues at the FBI? And was there a discussion about compromise of the server by a Chinese front company?
Right.
That it happened? Did they look into it? Did they follow up on it? We're not getting much feedback from the FBI.
So, but why would it be hard? I mean, again, you're in the business of getting government to divulge things it wants to hide. So why would it be so hard to get an answer to a very simple question like that?
Because the answer would be embarrassing. We know separately that we went to the FBI. We set up a meeting through Peter Strzok because we had evidence that the Russians had compromised Hillary Clinton's server. Our guy met with Strzok's team for 4 hours. They never followed up on any of it.
How compelling was the evidence that you had?
Well, it was compelling enough that the person who was doing it for us, who had a security clearance, thought he had to go to the FBI and tell them that there might have been a classified compromise of information by these Russia-type servers. And the document that we had found came from the same groups of server numbers that were affiliated with Hillary Clinton's server. Pretty substantial evidence. So we gave it to the FBI. No evidence that it was done, anything was followed up on.
So did they ever get back to you about it?
No, they never got back to us. But also Comey. Comey is the best witness here because he said, well, we didn't have any evidence that her server was classified, which wasn't necessarily true. But he admitted that, look, they could have done it without us knowing about it. We'd never know about it because they could have covered their tracks. So no one's ruled out that her server has been compromised. In fact, Comey said, we just assume it had been compromised. And sadly, we've sued this administration for its failure to do a damage assessment caused by her leaving classified information on the public equivalent, or the internet equivalent of a public park bench. And they fight us on this. They said it wasn't serious enough to warrant a damage assessment. Look, the deep state doesn't want to do a damage assessment. They don't want to grapple with this because to do so would undermine the fiction that what Hillary did caused no damage and deserves no prosecution.
I think you could take Hillary out of the equation and still be appalled by it. Is the Chinese military hacking into the personal accounts of high American officials? Yes, they are. Let's find out the details. Tom Fitton, I hope you do find out the details, and I hope you bring them here.
We will.